First of all, thank you so much, Hannah, and to Judy, and for all of you for making it out here tonight. It's a very special pleasure and honor to host all of you, to participate in this exceptional conversation, to the Editors Club members who are involved in putting this together, to our volunteers, to the American Sephardic Federation. We're very, very grateful to put this event together with you tonight, and we're grateful for your help in making it happen. Tuvia, I want to ask you a lot of questions about what everybody just heard. But before we get started, I want to rewind a little bit so everybody gets a full sense of what this book is all about. So let me start with this. What did you do to create this book?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Dovid. Thank you, Algemeiner, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, ladies and gents and ladies, for coming here tonight. And now you ask me the question of what? And thank you for doing a marvelous job. And I assume that some of you heard this and say, oh God, what is going on over here?
We're going to get to that.
It's okay. Keep it cool. And now, what have I done to do this? I mean, this book, like the series of all the books, are basically commissioned work, meaning none of them was anything that I came up with. My publisher, Surkamp, which is the most prestigious German publishing company, asked me to come and do this and do that, to go to Germany, travel in the USA, travel in Israel, and the next book is about the refugees in Europe, in Germany mainly. And so I never had a next grind. It's not like I wanted to do something. For this book, like all the other books, I do it with my wife, Izzy, who sits right here, humble enough. And she takes the pictures, she calls people on apps. Sometimes you have to call people. And then we have a team of videographers, sound people. Everything is in the open, and everything is straightforward. To do this book, it took between 6 and 7 months to do it, to do the journey. And when I started the journey, my prejudice was pro-America. I came to this land, to this country, in 1981 with $400 to my name. And I will never forget me sitting there standing one day when I just came on Coney Island Avenue and Avenue J with my suitcases, and I said, what now? How far will $400 take me? Anyway, I made it. I spent 15 years in different universities, collected different degrees and F degrees, and then I founded the Jewish Theater of New York. So I always felt kind of debt of gratitude to this country. And my prejudice was America, the beautiful. America was great to me, and I wanted to write a book that will glorify this country.
So
but I believe, as a journalist,
let
me just continue. I believe in my job as a journalist and as an author, you write what you see. That's it, and what you hear. You don't write what you want to write. You don't make your wishful thinking a reality. You must base everything you write on facts. Everything has to be grounded in reality. And the reality was different. And that reality shocked me. I live in Manhattan for many, many years. And what I know is Manhattan.
So Tuvia, before we get to the findings, and I want to go into that, because I know we've read the book, you wrote the book. I want to make sure everybody here understands what exactly you did. So it took 7 months, but you traveled across the entire United States.
No, not the entire United States. I'll be more
Tell us
exact.
more about that.
28 states,
Okay.
plus Washington, D.C. And that's what it was, because
And
the
tell
deal
us a
from the
little
beginning
bit-
was no longer than 6 months.
And tell us a little bit about what the average day looked like. So you met with incredible people.
The average day looks like you get up in the morning, every night you are in a different hotel. You never know which hotel you'll be next time. You have a car, a rental car. You go into the driver's seat. You have the people around you, my wife and whoever is there, and you start driving. And you avoid highways.
With no itinerary plan.
No itinerary, nothing. You just go. You know that you try to cross the land. So sometimes you'll make zigzag. You'll make here, there, this state, that state. And you go east to west, west to east, and north and south. That's what you try to do. And you walk every day, 14, 16, 18 hours. It's an excruciating thing. And you stop all the time, and you meet people randomly. You never select who you're going to meet. And you meet people, you stop, and you start talking to people. And what's interesting in America is the culture here. Here in the culture, everybody says beautiful things. When you meet people, say, how do you feel? Great. I missed you so much. You look so beautiful. You're so lovely. I say, don't you think I'm fat? No, you're not. You look like you have muscles. You look good. You look like healthy. You are sexy. You're really sexy. This is what Americans do in the beginning. Everything you ask them, everything is great. Everything is magnificent. Everything is beautiful. It takes some time. So just imagine, for example, talk about the Jewish issue. If you work for a really established polling group like Pew Social Research, and somebody calls you and you're an American, he says to you, good morning, John or Jane. What, do you like Jews? Of course. What do you think of Jews? They are the best. What do you think of blacks? I love them. What do you think of Latinos? My dream. But what happens after you talk more than 5 minutes? And they start feeling comfortable with my strange guy with the suspenders, big belly, who says he's German, and everybody loves the Germans, and just try to confide in them. And all of a sudden, something else comes out.
So I want to just take a second to read some of the things that people say to you. Because
Okay.
when you read through this book, it's actually shocking. You cannot believe that you can believe that people hold these views, but you can't believe that people would share that with a stranger. So here's one example. In Seattle, you're with a cab driver from Somalia who told you that Jews own everything and they don't help anybody who is not Jewish, and that's why Hitler killed them. Yeah. In Dearborn, Michigan, a man told you that the Jews carried out the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Didn't you know that?
And in Michigan, two women who were selling dessert proudly told you that they support Hezbollah. How are you so disarming that people feel so comfortable sharing with you?
Look at me. Nice teddy bear, double chin, gold something from his grandmother or great-grandmother of my wife. Look at me. It's like, look at the way, and usually I walk even worse on this. So, and you walk, you are disarmed. And it's my job to disarm them. It's my job in the beginning to tell them, from the beginning, to make them feel good. It's okay to talk to me. But you don't say that. You say, you look good, I like you. Like the Americans. You look good, you look really cool. I really like you. I like the way you put the tie. It's really, you have a great taste. And people like that, that's why people like that. I like your glasses. You're an artist, aren't you? And slowly you get there. You bring them to the comfort zone, and they do it. It's very, very simple. By the end of the day, put it this way. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm also a theater person, and for me, there is no bad people. Not because psychologically, not because realistically, of course, there are bad people. But for me, even the villains are very important on the show. Without villains, you have no stage. You have no story. So you learn to like everybody. And when you project to an interviewee that you like them, they return the favor. And they start feeling comfortable. You have to disarm them. And you have to really like them. Find, in any person you talk to, find something that you like in that person. That's my trick. I find something that I like. It's the voice, it's the sound, it's the way they move, whatever. And I hook up to it, and I talk about it, and it's real. And people understand when it's real. And then they open up, and they tell you what they think. And what they think is not what you thought they would think. But this is just one thing. The other thing, because I'm avoiding all the time, we are avoiding going through the highways and just driving. You have no idea how many times driving in places that I did not believe exist, like the hoods, the black ghettos, to see the destruction, to see the murder, to see the poverty, to see the culture that is like totally new to me. Like people would say to me, I say, what are you doing here? They say, here, blacks killing blacks. I say, why? They say, because we are nigger brothers. In August, we kill more. I say, why? Because it's hot. And you see, and the guy talks, like this example, the guy, a father, talks, and his son, little baby, listens to this. And you realize what happens here. Closer stock houses, you went into houses that people stole the outlets from them. And people live there. Human beings. And nobody cares. Nobody. I even went to the place that first elected Barack Obama into president. That's in Chicago. And you go to that place, and I wanted to know the people who first voted for Barack Obama in 1996 when he was elected as a state senator. And I decided to go to that place. It's a long story in that place. You'll see it in the book. Everybody tries to tell you, don't go. Even when we were on a bus, took a bus, put my car in the garage, went on a bus, drove to that place. Last stop, I'm trying to get off, and the driver says to me, where are you going? Black man. I say, where are you going? I say, I'm getting off, last stop. Say, no, you ain't leaving. I say, why not? This ain't a good place, man. You stay with me on the bus till I go back out of here. And then walking a few steps, and a van stops by, an off-white van. Two people are there with bulletproof vests, with machine guns. Lower the window, tell me, sir, what are you doing here? Get out of here. They are police, unmarked cars. They try to force me out. They say, this is not a neighborhood. This is a shooting range. And I can start telling you what I saw. All the descriptions are in the book, what I saw there. It came to a point, I have been to, I was in refugee camps in the Middle East. Horrible, horrible places that I'll never forget. For example, one of them in Amman, in Jordan, Al-Wahdat. We went to a refugee camp. And when I left, I just had to stop and I had to cry. To see humanity, human beings, so low. But that refugee camp was Plaza Hotel in comparison to the hoods of this country. And nobody cares. Before I made the journey, I thought, the blacks who didn't make it, it's their fault because they didn't take the opportunities of this country. Because after all, this country gives so many opportunities. But then after being there, and you realize, I was raised in Israel. My father was a rabbi. I was given values. I was given direction. But these people in the woods have not been given direction. They are born into that place. Into a place of horror. And nobody cares. You have no idea how many black ghettos I went into, black neighborhoods. And the people will say, what are you doing here? I say, am I causing you any problem? Say, no. You're a white man. So what? Yeah, I know, thank you very much. I know I'm a white man. Big white man. What's your problem? Say, don't remember ever white man walking on the neighborhood. So segregated. So this is an example of what you see in the country.
So I want to take us back a little bit to the focus of the talk tonight, which is about what you discovered about the American view of Jews and of Israel. So share with us a little bit about your findings on this subject.
American Jews, this is the worst. I'm sorry to say it, I'm Jewish. I love Judaism, I love Jewish culture, and my best friends are Jewish. Really. Anyway, so outside of the Orthodox community, outside of that community, where Jews are proud to be Jews and are observing Jewish laws or whatever it is, but put yarmulke or whatever they do, outside of that community, you have the rest of the Jewish community, which is the most of them, of course. Some have been gone, assimilated totally, and then there are the others, the ones what you call American Jews, the majority of them. In state after state, temple after temple, what I saw and what I witnessed was a nightmare. You see rabbis or so-called rabbis, leaders, supposedly leaders, standing at the podium, and all they can tell to the listeners is that Israel is an apartheid state and that Judaism is racism. That's what they preach you. Over and over and over again. I'll give you one example I'll share with you in St. Paul. One day there was an afternoon in Sunday. The congregation is invited to a talk, a schmooze or whatever, about racism. I thought it's about anti-Semitism. Well, not. It's about blacks and whites. It's about racism against blacks. Very nice, no problem. There are people on the panel, all liberals, or so-called liberals, and like in any normal liberal event, there must be at least one black person. You know that? You have been to those parties? And of course, there was a black lady there. And she happened to be the key speaker. And she goes to the podium and she talks. She says she's Jewish by choice. And she tells the people that since she has become Jewish, she found out really what it means to be Jewish. Israel is an apartheid state. Jews are racist, just as I told you. And the Jews, listening to this, clap. What a beautiful thing she said. When you see it and you watch it, you can't believe it. Even the segments that you heard before. I'll share with you something that's not in the book. When Samantha Power, then U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, stood at the podium talking to 1,000 Jews, all educated, dressed well, looked like they're doing well, and she told them that a message from President Obama, and she said that the United States will always stand by Israel at the United Nations, will always fight anti-Semitism in the UN, and the relationship between America and Israel is unshakable. 3 Jews applaud. Then comes to the stage Ayman Ouda from the Joint List, Arab-Israeli Knesset member. And he says, Israel must observe the Nakba, the catastrophe day, when Jews came to the land and killed innocent Palestinians in the thousands. The murderous Jews. And 1,000 Jews got up in a huge standing ovation and they applauded him for 5 minutes. say something against the Jews, and they will applaud. Next to me in St. Paul was a guest from a Lutheran church. I said to her, "What are you doing here?" She told me she wanted to find other Jews deal with race issues. I say, "What did you find?" Said the Jews are racist as well. Racist Jews. She brings the message over. Place by place by place. I'm interviewing in Berkeley University, UC Berkeley, a state university, the best state university in the United States of America. I'm interviewing the chancellor. Next to us sit the press person of the university, a Jew. I talk with the chancellor about all kinds of things. For example, how come the universities, almost half of the students I see are Asian, and you're such a liberal university, how come I hardly see blacks here? And he explained to me that the Asians are 40%, blacks are 3%, the whole thing. And then I told him, okay, everything went well. Then I asked him, I said to him, I spoke with some with some Jewish students here. And they told me they are afraid to speak about Israel because if their fellow students knew that they support Israel, they would they would be boycotted. They would not talk to them anymore. And I wanted the chancellor to give a comment on that. The Jew sitting next to us got very upset, and he started screaming at me. If I knew that you would have been asking this question, I would never, ever have allowed you to be here. That's the Jew. Over and over and over again, when you see some anti-Jewish thing, if you dig deep, and put a magnifying lens, to see who is behind it, over and over you'll find a Jew. And that's frightening. And this is a last call, I would say, to us Jews. It's time we wake up.
So this, Tuvia, so this is a commentary on the American Jewish community. And I have some questions on it, and I'm sure everyone here also does. But I want to hear more about what you discovered about how regular Americans view Jews, view Israel, and also how those two play off each other. I remember we discussed a very interesting discovery that you came across on this subject.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I shared it with you, and it's also in the book. This is one of the, put it this way, one of the most interesting discoveries, for me at least. I had a set of questions that I asked everybody, almost everybody, like 5. Like, are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? Are you pro-gay marriage? Are you for gun control, whatever? And then, this is like issues that Americans deal with it all the time between Democrats and Republicans, or conservatives and liberals. And then there were 2 questions that, in my statistics, there was 95% if you heard the answer to one of them, you would know the answer to the other. And that was in reality, one of the people that I asked. All across this land, in the 28 states, the costs are in Montana or in Kansas. Doesn't matter. Question: do you believe in climate change? Man-made climate change? Yes or no? Are you pro-Israel or are you pro-Palestine? Now, the people who believed in climate change were pro-Palestine. The people who did not believe in climate change were pro-Israel. Yes, I understand why these are the set of values, but it's so interesting when you see it. And when I asked the people a follow-up question, where is Palestine? Almost none of them know. All they know is there are some Jews fighting them. That's it. And one of the other interesting things were, like, I went to the churches, evangelical churches, where I thought, they love Jews and all that stuff. And you see the older generation still supports Israel, the younger generation is already talking about free Palestine. And that's no matter where, even the reddest of states. You know? The young people, at the majority, free Palestine. And that was very, very interesting to discover.
So let me push back a little bit on the premise of the book. I think we'd love to hear your response to the critics. So some people will say, you know, this is a book which involved a tremendous amount of work, months, hours, so many people. But in the end of the day, it's a book of anecdotes. And maybe it's a collection of interactions with all kinds of crazy people. What's your response to the critics who say, you know something, these discoveries are not real discoveries, it's just an anecdotal effort?
Okay, first of all, the anecdotes in the book, you know, they all loop somewhere all the time, like in the previous books, the same thing, I try to make it. But anyway, of course, if you go through the land, you'll have a lot of anecdotes, you'll learn a lot of stories, many interviews. But the point is this, what I did, as I explained to you before, because I never knew where I'm going, it was always random. And what I did was that Pew Social Research, which is the most reliable in this country, does, calling people randomly. I met those people randomly. I interviewed thousands and thousands of people, randomly. And by the end of the day, I am as good, statistically speaking. I'm also a mathematician, by the way. I have a degree in it.
It's a full degree or a half degree?
No, this is the full degree. In mathematics, I have a full degree. Yeah, I got an A in mathematics. You know, an A plus. That's my worst grade was A. Okay. Anyway, so I know how to make statistics, and the point is, all I did is what Pew Social Research does. They do it by calling people on the phone. I meet them, but I have one advantage. I can talk to them for more than 5 minutes. I sit with them. I schmooze with them. I chat with them. And as I said to you before, what you find out is totally different. This is interesting, and I also wrote it in the book. I met Abe Foxman before I started, you know, when I was still in New York going. And I asked Abe, you're still the ADL boss? And I asked him, what is your finding about anti-Semitism in America? He says 12 to 14%. And they spent millions or whatever, a lot of money on doing all these surveys. And I said, Abe, will I find the same percentage? He said, no. You will find much more. How come? Because you'll talk to them. You will get out of them what they really think. And that was very, very interesting. And that's the reality.
So on the subject of Abe Foxman, you have an anecdote towards the beginning of the book of an event, a goodbye party when Abe Foxman left the ADL. I was also there.
Okay.
So I recall what a fantastic affair it was. You mentioned that there were 2 presidents that gave their greetings to Abe for his future life. There were ambassadors, there was Diane von Furstenberg, there was Elie Wiesel, there was Roger Ailes, there was Samantha Power, and Constellation.
And Susan Rice, both of them made speeches.
So you ask in the book, you say, would a Jew in Europe command so much respect, so many high-level people, 2 presidents who care about a retiring Jew? Is there something unique about how America relates to its Jews? What would you say is the answer to that question?
The answer is it's too complex. First of all, Abe Foxman is a creature upon him. You know, it's like he's unto himself. I mean, it's like Jonathan Greenblatt. I don't think any president will cry even if he dies. You know, I mean, it's like, let's be realistic, you know, so it's like, who cares about Jonathan Greenblatt? I was like, I didn't say anything. So I think, first of all, A. Foxman is a character. I mean, it's like, he's a character. I mean, it's like, he knows how to go like this between the raindrops. I mean, and then yes, there is something to this. And this is left over for the older generation. That respect for Jews still exists in America in the older generation. In the young generation, it exists less and less. In other words, the European anti-Semitism is coming to this country. We are not yet there. We are not yet, America is not yet like Germany, or like France, or like Belgium, or like Poland. But we are advancing there very fast, and you better watch it. I live in those countries, I know, and I can tell you that what I saw in America now was shocking to me, was frightening, but I think we can still stop it if we are paying attention to it. But you see, in the West, there is influences from America to Europe and from Europe to America. For example, smoking. The crazy thing, you live in New York, you know, if you're a smoker, you are a leper, nobody wants to talk to you, you know, and if you smoke, you have to go over there, across the street over there, you know, to smoke your stupid cigarette, you schmuck. You know, it's like, and don't come to me before you put some Listerine before you come back. You know, people, you know, it's like everybody has an allergy. Oh, you just smoke a cigarette? You know. I mean, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I mean, you would think like this in Germany, it would never happen. I mean, the Germans always said to me, Tuvia, come on. Here you can smoke inside the theater. Here you can smoke everywhere. We are not stupid Americans. Guess what? Now you cannot smoke in Germany either. No smoking here, and no smoking there, and no smoking here, and no smoking there. And then, that's one influence of the no smoking, of the health, the environment that pushes to Europe. And then from Europe comes, through colleges, through different kind of media, comes the anti-Semitism, the classic European anti-Semitism, which is hidden behind State of Israel. But that's what it is. And this is the reality. And if you don't wake up to it, it will happen to us what happens in Europe. I mean, it's like in Europe, it's frightening today. I live in Germany.
So at the beginning of the event, in the passages that we heard, there are some very damning conclusions that you arrive at. Yeah. You say that the America that you find is not the America you wanted to find. It's racist, it's hateful, and its citizens are bound to destroy themselves. Can humanity rely on this country? I wouldn't. Now that, some might say, is a very bleak view. Did you find any cause for optimism in your discoveries? And if yes, what was it?
First of all, believe it or not, I believe in reality. I believe in facts. How do you call it here in New York? You see it, how do you call it?
Call it how you see it?
Say it again, no. You see something, say something, okay? I believe, see something, write something. You know, you have to do that. And believe it or not, I believe in facts, I believe in reality, and whatever the reality is, I'm going to go with it. There is no other way I can do it. That's my job. And do I find some good things in America? Of course there are good things for America. I am addicted to this thing. I can't believe I would live my life without it, without Coke Zero or Diet Coke. I'm sorry. I am addicted to it, and this is an American invention. I love American toilet paper. No other country in the world has this toilet paper, guaranteed. No other country. You can't have it. You know, every other country, their ashes are made for horses. It's like, you don't have that. That's Charming or Keller, whatever it's called. This kind of toilet, it's like, I dream of them at night. I say 3 times a day, glory, glory, hallelujah for America. Thank you, America, for existing. I miss you. There are things. There are beautiful nature in America.
But we're talking about...
this country has one good thing. It's called Constitution. And the Constitution is great. It's beautiful, better Constitution than almost any other country. And the only problem is that you have to actually make it work. That's, you have to apply it. Or you don't apply it so often. And that's what it is. I mean, look at this world today. We are so politically correct. There is nothing we can do anymore. I look at a girl like this. She can call up, take the phone, their iPhone 7, and call up 911 and arrest me for sexual harassment. And I would be detained. It's not a joke. We're getting crazy. And we learn not to be truthful, to say lies. Let's drop it. Let's be truthful. Let's be honest. If you say you love everybody, love. If you don't love everybody, don't talk about it. Nobody's asking you, forcing you to lie. And that's what I think. But the Constitution here is great. It's an amazing Constitution. With all its amendments, I think it's a beautiful human document. We have to apply it.
Do you see a path?
Do I see what?
Do you see a path to that becoming a reality, the application of the Constitution?
Look, my job, I'm a journalist. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not an imam. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a pope, thank you. I'm not any of that. My job is not to correct the place. This is not my job. I'm not pretending to be it. I'm not the righteous Tuvia of the... I'm not righteous. I hate righteous people, especially on the left. I can't stand them. They are the most mean-spirited people I have met in my life. But you know what? My job is to write it. I write what, as I say it again and again. My job is to identify what I see. Now, there are other people, thank God, who are doing other things, who have other jobs in the Jewish communities. I hope they will start moving their tuches and doing something. But this is not my job to do.
Okay, Tuvia, we want to open the floor now to questions, which I know is always the most exciting part.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you one final question, maybe to kick things off. You mentioned the Constitution. There's a paragraph also towards the beginning of the book where you go and visit the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. Yeah. And you ask the question, on the Liberty Bell it says, proclaim justice throughout the land, which you say was written about the land of Israel. Yeah. Were the founding fathers trying to recreate Israel? Now, you've written one book going through the length and breadth of Israel and another one through the length and breadth of America. Do you see similarities?
Of course I see the connection. I mean, there's no question you see the connection. I mean, even the word settlements. You remember settlers in Israel and settlers here? You have that. You have to come into a land that was not empty of people. And you have the idea of freedom, of the freedom to worship and all that stuff, and you have the Bible and you have all this. This was New Israel. I mean, the Mormons got it the best because everything is like, they actually built Israel here, even Zion's Bank, right? Zion's Bank? Go to Utah, you will see it, and that's it, yeah.
Okay, so now we'll open the floor to some questions. And I know that we're streaming this event on Facebook Live, so if anybody's watching online, please add your questions in the comments section, and we'll try and get a few of those asked as well. Please.
So I have a double question. The first...
We charge the same thing for double.
Okay. So the first question is, you talk about being truthful. Do you think do you think people tailor their answers to your question? When you tell them you're German, do you think that invites an anti-Semitic response? And do you think if you were to tell them I'm Israeli, you might get a different response, maybe not less honest, just a different side of them? That's my first question. And the second question is, you say we should do something about the anti-Semitism in America, but what do you suggest we could do?
Okay, I'll answer what's question. My dear wife, my beautiful wife, Izzy, said to me when we started the journey, she said, Tuvia, why do you tell everybody you are German? We are not with the Palestinians here. You can say you are Jewish and you're born in Israel. I said, okay, for you, I'll do it. We were in Georgetown. Washington, D.C. A man walks with his dog, well-dressed, nice, walks very nice. We start talking to each other, and I learn that he's really nice guy, a lawyer, well-to-do. And then he recognizes my accent is not an American, and he asks me where I'm from. And for my dear wife, I said, Israel. And then he comes closer to me with his mouth into my ears. And he said, after 2,000 years, you had to colonize. After 2,000 years, you had to colonize. Colonialist Israelis, colonialist Jews, we colonize the Palestinians. So I said to him, you sound like a nice guy. I'm a journalist, I would like to give you an interview. Is it okay if I record you? So I record him, and he tells me how great it is that he knows that I'm from Israel, it's so nice, ba-ba-boo, ba-ba-boo. I say, no, tell me what you said before I started recording you. What did I say? Colonize. I said, no, I didn't say colonize. I said coalesce. I said, excusez-moi. You said colonize. And she was there. Didn't he say colonize? He said colonize. So we started like arguing what he really said, what he did said. And then I said, you know what? I'm wasting my time. I closed the recording, my iPhone, put it back in the pocket. I put it in the pocket. Comes back to me, into my ears. What the Nazis did to you, you do to others. Thank you very much. So sometimes I try to be this Israeli thing or the Jewish thing. Didn't work. It's too loaded in this country. Too loaded, like in Europe. And now your second question was what I suggest to do. I think you have to teach your children. Look, Dovid did something. He opened a site, Algemeiner, to tell it from a different point of view. Everybody here still a democratic country. Do something. Get up and stand and talk about it. It's time you don't apologize. It's time you attack your attackers. It's time you improve. If you are in non-Orthodox shul or a temple, whatever it is, and you don't believe, you think your rabbi, whatever doctor he is, talks against Israel, raise your voice and say, stop, not here. Still in this country, if you want, you can depose your leaders. You can depose your rabbis. You are paying their salary. This is not Europe. It's not the government paying the salary. You can do a Facebook thing and demonstrate. You can go and demonstrate and go and stand in front of those papers who say all kinds of anti-Semitic stuff. You have the power still in this country to do it. Not sit on the tuches, but start active. You can do it. Please.
Yeah, Tuvia, thank you very much. I was. It seems to me that you wrote that when you were going around in America, you wrote the book in the age of Barack Obama, and it seems that you got a lot of attitudes and opinions that were pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, all that sort of stuff. If America is so pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel as you claim, then how do you explain the election of Donald Trump?
Okay. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, let's keep it for between you and me. Let's not talk about it. But what is the impressions of the American people in most media had of Donald Trump? Racist. That's what people thought. And he got elected because he's racist. I'm not saying he's racist, because he thought he's racist. Because he does all those things. So the people who voted for Donald Trump, many of them, did not vote for Donald Trump who loves Jews. They vote for Donald Trump who is racist and probably doesn't like Jews. Doesn't matter. But you see, but that's the point. It doesn't matter who Donald Trump, the man, really is. The image of him was as a racist. And 62 million Americans voted for a man they deemed to be racist. And that's the reality. Not to you, but this is the image he had in the papers. This is the image he had out there when he fought with the Mexicans or the Mexican judge, when he fought with this, when he fought in that. For people who read, a lot of liberals voted for him too. And that's the reality. And you have to understand that. Donald Trump, I don't know, to this day, between you and me, I don't know what Donald Trump is. And I don't think anybody does. And the question is if he knows. What I do see him doing, which is what a classic real estate person in New York does. He has a building, and the first thing he wants is to destroy it. Let's demolish it. And then let's try to build something else. That's the only pattern I can see. He promised in Daily Mail interview in May 2016, he promised that he would never be against settlements. No pause in settlements. He promised over and over that on the day he becomes the president, he will announce moving the Israeli embassy, the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Did he do this? Did he do that? No. He was pro-Taiwan, against China one policy, and then he changed his mind. He's into China one policy. He changed his mind so many times. So only God, maybe, knows what Donald Trump really thinks. That's the reality. I don't want to interject politics here, but that's the reality.
Yeah, we better change the subject if we want to get you out here alive.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
sir.
What was your favorite meal as you crisscrossed America?
It was like in Seattle. It was like in one of those restaurants. I put the name in the book. I don't remember the name. That was really good. Everything was, even the little cherry tomatoes were sweet like honey. It's like everything was like amazingly good.
Was it
In
kosher?
general, I believe in my kosher. Every rabbi has a right to make his kosher. I have my kosher style. If it's tasty, it's kosher. If it's not tasty, it's not kosher. That's my rule. It's called the Jewish rule of kashrus. You know? I already, you know? And yeah, America is like, there's not much good food in America compared to Europe or to Middle East, but yeah.
Did you find in your travels that the rising anti-Semitism, especially the BDS movement, is being instigated by Muslims or Arabs?
Okay, this was a very good question, and I'll tell you something that you probably, most of you will not agree with me. I have seen a lot of anti-Semitism in my life. I live and I go and I travel in European countries and in Muslim countries. Anti-Semitism in the Muslim countries and anti-Semitism in European countries or Christian countries or atheist countries are very, very different. The anti-Semitism of the white man is much stronger than the anti-Semitism of the brown man, Muslim in this case. If you go to Jordan or Saudi Arabia or Doha, Qatar, you see a lot of anti-Semitic literature in the bookstores or in newsstands, like in Amman. Guess who wrote those books? Muslims? No. Europeans. When I traveled in Israel, and I saw what happens over there, when Europe sends its best children to the Middle East to convince the Palestinians that the Jews are not to be trusted. And many times, when they ask the Muslim, who told you this stupid story? Said the Europeans. I'll never forget the Muslim guy, Aziz, from a Bedouin. And in one of those Bedouin settlements or whatever that doesn't exist anymore, or he wants to exist it, and he claimed that the Jews came, the Israelis, obviously the Jews came and took it away, and he starts singing to me in English. The Jews came and destroyed the trees. And I said to him, Ya Aziz, we are in the desert, Ya Aziz. There were never trees here, Ya Aziz. Why are you telling me about trees that the Jews took. Are you nuts? So he didn't compose it. The Europeans came and told him to sing the song. They told him about the history of the place. If you read it in Catch the Jew, the Europeans are spending millions upon millions upon millions of euros in making or refining or recreating places to prove that before the Jews came, the Palestinians were the first. It's amazing as they do it. Who does it? Europeans, people who look like you and like me. Their hatred to the Jew will never equal the hatred of the European. In my next book, in which we traveled around refugee camps, it's a book about the refugees. The Arab, Muslim, Afghanis, all those refugees are in Germany now. Almost 2 million of them. And it was driving one day refugee camp, one day with the Germans, one day with the Syrians, one day with the Germans. Guess where I found the most anti-Semitic comments? People said to me, not even with the Syrians, with the Germans. The Syrians, the immortal enemy of Israel. They don't really care. Hey, the Jews this, the Jews that. Okay, big deal. Let's move on. But the German, no, we must solve the problem. We have a Jewish problem. So it's very nice legend, and it's very nice myth that it's the Muslims who bring anti-Semitism to the land, to the European continent. But I am sorry to disappoint you. I'm not saying they are righteous. I'm not saying they are not anti-Semitic or whatever, Jew haters, whatever you want to call it. But their hatred, compared to the European hatred, that's a difference between day and night, my man. Sorry. Even in Palestinians, meet a Christian Palestinian and meet a Muslim Palestinian. Who hates the Jews more, with more passion? The Christian. You know how many times I heard from Christian Palestinians that the Jews are not human beings but demons who fly? Horrible things I hear from them. Much more than from the Muslim. Sorry.
Yes. Tuvia, since you're a mathematician, I'm sure you're very logical. You basically came up with the syllogism that since the press portrayed Donald Trump as racist and most of the country voted for him, most of the country must be racist. But there are two flaws with that argument. The first flaw is, what makes you think most of the country is as stupid as New York Jewish New Yorkers and believes the press? And second of all, if most of the country is racist, why did they elect Obama for 8 years in a row? And finally, I want to just tell you one thing. You were mentioning the influence of Jews on this country. You mentioned settlers and so on. It's more profound than that. If you give me your mailing address, I'll mail you 2 or 3 pages that I can Xerox from a book called Why Are Jews Liberal by Norman Podhoretz, where he describes how, not Jewish, but Harvard Christian professors came up with lots of evidence that the people who settled this country, the Puritans, were by blood Jewish. They came mostly from Lincolnshire, England, that part of England, which had been predominantly Jewish until King John expelled the Jews, but many of them stayed on, converted. They were conversos who centuries later made up the bulk of the pilgrims. Most of them came from Lincolnshire. Just for your information, if you want me to.
Thank you very much. I read all these things. Again, I'm not writing the book is not a historic book. It's not about the period, conversos or not, I don't know. I cannot even answer to that question, who were the ones who founded America. And this is not my domain. I'll leave it to others. And I am talking about America today. What did the people think and what the people did not think? Yes. The people who voted for Obama, yes. This country is basically split almost in the middle. But I think what happened with Trump was something very interesting. Voting for Obama looked cool. So you are a racist, but you don't show it. If Al Sharpton ran for presidency in this country, believe you me, you would not win. If Jesse Jackson ran, no. But Obama as many blacks explained to me, talk like a white, walk like a white, he's white, and his mama is white too. So yes, it was good. It was a feel-good Obama as president. We got over our black things, and this black is good black. Okay? What Trump came and did is something that not even Ross Perot or any other in modern time did. He gave the Americans the chance to vote for somebody who is tweeting all the time, saying whatever it is, has diarrhea in the mouth, changes his mind every time, starts with women, God knows what, he grabs them. You know, I mean, it was like a best opportunity. Somebody will break everything. That's what he wanted, and that's what he got. If he's good or not, it's not my job to say, it's not my place. And I want to thank Dovid, a wonderful guy, and I want to thank you for coming.
And I want to thank you. Before Tuvia, I just want to say a word of thanks to you. You know, you're a journalist, and we live in the profession of journalism, but you are the most unique journalist I have ever encountered.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to Jem, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.